Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our program here tonight. We have a fantastic program in store for you with amazing Regina Carter. Tonight's program, we're doing an exclusive talk with violinist Regina Carter, discussing her latest album, Swing States, Harmony in the Battleground. And you'll hear all about it here, of course, as the title suggests. We are thankfully coming to you as a co-presentation between New Jersey Performing Arts Center and the Jazz Standard. And in thanks as part of the TD Bank Jazz Series at NJPAC. So we of course want to thank right up front NJPAC, Jazz Standard, as well as TD Bank for helping us here and being behind the series that we're doing tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to jump in with introducing the artists that I'm going to bring to you one by one. And what we're going to do is also allow for some questions from the audience as we go along tonight. We're going to try and get those in as we go throughout the program where possible. So please feel free to share and do share questions you have for any of these amazing artists that are part of the program tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to share that Regina Carter is a recipient of MacArthur Genius Award, as well as a Doris Duke Award. She has widely been hailed for her mastery of the violin and her drive to expand its possibilities, which she's done over many years now. In 2018, she actually was named the artistic director of the New Jersey Performing Arts Center All-Female Jazz Residency, which is a unique summer immersion program for aspiring women jazz professionals. And actually, despite the pandemic, I do know that that program did take place this summer, which is my hats off to everyone for making that possible during this challenging time. At any rate, she was also, of course, nominated for a Grammy. She has been on the faculty of Manhattan School of Music, as well as participated in dance, theater, and been artistic director in residence for the SF Jazz Center. She was born in Detroit, which of course will be part of what we're discussing tonight as we get into this program. She began studying violin at 4 at the very young age in Detroit, and she released her first solo record back in 1995 on great Atlantic story label Atlantic Records. And lastly, I will say she was also named a Pulitzer Prize jurist, has twice been a Pulitzer Prize jurist rather, and the other thing is she is currently featured in J. Jill's Inspired Women ad campaign, which is also great. So, and last but not least, sorry for the lengthy introduction here, but there's a lot to get in because she's also been a featured performer with such artists as everyone from Kenny Barron and the great late Ray Brown to Stefan Harris to Mary J. Blige, Joe Jackson, Billy Joel, Dolly Parton, Cassandra Wilson, and more. So without further ado, I'd love to have you welcome with a virtual round of applause, the great Regina Carter. Hey, Regina.
Hey, Seth. How are you? Thanks so much. What
Oh,
an
thank
introduction.
you.
The pressure's on now.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's you've done well with pressure for a very long time, clearly. So I'm gonna just bring everybody in up front here, as I mentioned. So I'm gonna move on before Regina and I get into the discussion to bringing everybody else on here. So next artist I'm gonna bring and introduce here is the great trumpeter John Daversa, who is a multi-Grammy award-winning artist himself, composer, arranger, producer, band leader, educator. He is chair and professor of studio music and jazz at the Frost School of Music at the University of Miami. I think he may be even joining us from that location tonight. He also has a beautiful recording himself that recently came out too with his quintet, which includes the great pianist Gonzalo Rubalcaba, Daphnis Prieto, and others that I think recently came out this past summer. So I'm going to welcome and ask everyone to give a great warm round of virtual applause to John Daversa here. Just waiting for him to get his video going. There we are.
Thank you, Seth, very much.
Oh,
Pleasure
man.
to be here with everybody.
Thank you, man. So glad you could be here. Next, we have just a really thrilled and honored to have joining us tonight, along with everybody else, the drummer, the great legendary drummer and so much more, Harvey Mason, who literally is among the most recorded and in-demand drummers of all time. And that is not hyperbole. That sounds like hyperbole. It is not, I can assure you. He's a legendary multi-Grammy nominated session drummer, producer, composer, recording artist. He has worked with just the giants of music, including Barbra Streisand, James Brown, Herbie Hancock, Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, Usher, Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles, Bjork, Carlos Santana, Michael Jackson. And it just goes on. I could keep going on. And even with orchestras as well, the London Symphony Orchestra. Not only that, he has composed and written songs recorded by artists ranging from the great Nancy Wilson and Mary J. Blige to Notorious B.I.G., Lupe Fiasco, Nelly, P. Diddy, and T.I. So Harvey has won 4 first-place plaques for Modern Drummer Magazine annual studio poll. He has been the first call drummer for the Academy Awards ceremonies, literally on 25 occasions. So without further ado, I am going to welcome to the program the one and only legendary Harvey Mason. So great virtual round of applause for Harvey Mason.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you, man. Looking forward to our discussion, man. So finally, last but no way least, he's got quite an impressive resume himself, Kabir Sehgal, who is the producer on this recording. Kabir is the founder and CEO of the company Tiger Turn Productions. He has also worked extensively in the corporate world, both on the tech side and on the financial side of things. He even helped to place the Alibaba IPO, which was the largest in history, apparently. And he began his career by founding a educational network. He has no less than 15 books to his credit that he's put out that have been hailed by New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. He's a best-selling author with those books, and some of those books have been done with the likes of Deepak Chopra and others. And also, Kabir has also won 5 Grammys and 3 Latin Grammy Awards as a producer. So that's an incredible feat, including one of the projects that did win was he happened to work with none other than John Daversa on our program here. So there's some history there too, of course. And he was involved with the Presidential Suite by Ted Nash, which is a great project that I also had some involvement with presenting at the Jazz Standard. Anyway, and he's got which maybe we'll have time to get into later, he's got a very exciting film coming out soon too. So I could go on, but let's get started and welcome, please, to the program, Mr. Kabir Sehgal with a virtual round of applause.
Hey there, thank you. Thanks for, and you mentioned the Jazz Standard. We miss it. I can't wait to get some of that good barbecue.
Thank you.
Thanks for all that you do for the music.
Oh man, thank you. Thanks for all you do to support it, and thank everyone for joining us and being here tonight. And I think we'll start right at the beginning of this project, which is firstly, Regina, I'll ask you first as the leader of the group here, and then everyone can chime in. But firstly, how did this recording project, Swing States Harmony in the Battleground, get started? How did it come to be?
Well, Kabir and I were having a conversation. I worked on the feature film, the recording that he produced with Arturo O'Farrill, Fandango at the Wall, which is premiering this Friday on HBO. And so we were talking about a year ago, and we were just got into a conversation about politics and voting, and I was just telling him how disheartened I was at the amount of people that didn't vote and feel like their vote doesn't matter, and especially African Americans, and it really bothered me. And so we just had this long conversation, and he asked if I was working on any projects, and I was starting to work on something, and he said, "What about have you ever thought about doing a record centered around voting rights?" And so the conversation blossomed from there.
Wow, that's great. Kabir, so do you want to share some of
Yeah, I mean, this was
the action?
an elaborate attempt to work on a project with Regina, so I had to had to disguise it in a way. No, but seriously, I'm a big believer in the power of music and advocacy, and I think art is a way, and we can talk about this more at length. Art is a way to it's not more than a cliche, appeal to hearts and minds in a way that an op-ed doesn't, or just a conversation doesn't, because music is really processed by a part of the brain that is an emotional center. And so it just seemed, in Regina is such a legendary and virtuosic person, an amazingly kind person. It just seemed like taking an arts and advocacy project and working with her seemed like special ingredients to a sauce. And I think swing states is really, there's the pun of swing states, but we really thought that we wanted to put this project out now in the middle of an election year, and you can turn on the TV and see a lot of political news, but we hope that this project is really an oasis or an island that you can just listen to it and be like reassured of the good things in our country. Oftentimes we're hearing about the not so good things. So that was kind of the impetus of Regina wanting to do this project and taking it forward. And then we were blessed to have incredible collaborators like John and the legendary Harvey Mason. So I'm grateful it happened.
So, Harvey, when you got the call for this project, were you all in? What were your thoughts? Is it different kind of project? I take it that despite the countless recordings you've been involved with over the years, which are many of my personal favorite records, actually, I have to say. What was your take on the idea behind this?
Well, I never really heard the full idea, but my son told me about the project, Harvey Jr., and it sounded very, very interesting. And of course, with the personnel involved in the project, I immediately said, let's do it for sure. I mean, John Daversa, I've known about him, and I've worked with his dad a lot in the older days, and I've heard his talent and aware of his talent. And John Batista, I wasn't really familiar with him, but Regina I was familiar with, and I'd worked with someone that had taught her, so I was all in from the beginning. I didn't know much about the music and what it was really going to be, but they said swing states, and I thought probably it was swinging states. But I learned later it had to do with voting, and it was about the swing states. And for me, it was all about the music and the musicians. And once I heard about the musicians, then I'm in. And I love all kinds of music. So regardless of what the music was, I was going to make it my own and give the best that I had. So I was in from the very beginning.
Cool. And John, let me just put that to you too, about the initial ask that you received as being part of this project. And I guess you also, among others, dealt with some of the arrangements as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Kabir and I talked about, I think he brought up the prospect of this project, and he said, it's going to be a record by Regina. And I said, yes, Yeah. And Regina and I had worked together a little bit on a previous project that Kabir also produced for Karin Allison, the Karin Allison Sextet that celebrated the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage, of the 19th Amendment passing.
Yeah.
And Regina guested on a track, and so we got to know each other a little bit there, and and after that, then you start, the wheels start turning. What could we do together? Because I think, something I remember talking to you, Harvey, about this. When the chemistry is just there, and we were talking about it too, Gina. It you just want to follow that. You just want to follow that. When it gels, you want to do more. You want to create more because it feels good, and you see what the potential is. And then above that, I think we're all interested in music. If we're going to make music, we want it to have an impact. We want it to have, it's in this little sound bubble, right? And it goes out into the world, and you want it to have a positive impact on people. And so if this one can say, listen, the agenda here is just vote, just pay attention, look at what's going on, go within, find your own, where you are with everything, and vote and be part of this, so we can be part of this all together. So all those ingredients together, and then, Harvey Mason's going to play, and of course, my dad, as Harvey said, they played together in the LA studios when I was a kid. And I've listened to Harvey play on every record that I've grown up with and study and share with my students and John Baptiste and everybody involved to get to write for that ensemble. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you did, and very well, I might add.
Thank you.
And we're all the beneficiaries of what you guys did here. And the public, and I know it's been getting a lot of great attention, and especially in this challenging time with the pandemic. I think before we jump to the next thing, what I wanted to do is just share, because it kind of sets the stage if there are people tuning in who haven't heard any of the project yet and what it's about. I think in John Baptiste's words, since he couldn't join us tonight, I just want to play and share with the public real quick what he says on the record here. So hold on one moment, and I'm going to do that. And go to. Hopefully you're all seeing this now. Okay. So here we go. Mm-hmm. So that was a little taste of from John Baptiste's words there, how this project is. It does have a provocative title of swing states, but there's a double entendre. I'm sure that was meant there, being that this is a jazz project, and it is about really focusing and centering on harmony and what brings us together, not what divides us as a people. And then the songs that are part of this project are all taken from associations that they have with various states. So I'm curious how the song selection process worked on this to some extent, Regina. I would love some ideas. I know you in Dancing in the Street was there were so many amazing songs that come out of obviously Detroit and Michigan. What caused you to settle on that particular song for your project?
Well, when I was researching tunes, tunes from the swing states, when I clicked on for Michigan, it was the melody to "Oh Christmas Tree," and I said to Kabir, I don't think people will say why is she doing a Christmas tune now?
I forgot
So
about that.
what's that?
I forgot about that. We were going to do that, and then that's not going to work.
Right. And then I thought, well, a tune that was popular only probably for Michiganders was a commercial actually for Faygo Pop. And so I thought about that, but not enough people would know that either. So Dancing in the Streets, we knew that Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, that group out of Detroit, Motown, recorded that tune, and it became a civil rights a tune, a background tune for the civil rights movement back in the 60s. And so we thought that we knew everyone would know that tune and it'd be a great tune to add to the record. And I had no clue what to expect, with the arrangements, and we're in the studio and I heard that I was like blown away just because of the take that John put on this arrangement. It's like not what you would expect at all, but I think it's one of my favorite cuts actually.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I'll just weigh in there for a second on the song
please.
selection. We certainly wanted to just do a cross section. I think the first was, could we pick the states that would determine the election, or the swing states? But I think we also wanted to pick some of the songs, or like some of the states have songs you just wouldn't know, right? The state song of Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. And we thought maybe we should feature some states that maybe aren't swing states, but have really fun songs. Like Louisiana's You're My Sunshine, and Georgia My Mind. So we kind of threw in, and working with our production team, Doug and Harvey, and thinking about how do we make this a mixture of songs you may recognize and songs that you maybe not, so it has a good listening experience. And there was we had 50 to choose from, right? And so we whittled it down, and there's a couple that I think were right on the bubble there, but we didn't go for them. So
right. Cool. Yeah, and then some of them are quite, and they're not commonly heard of in a jazz context. I mean, certainly tunes like Georgia on My Mind, which was a classic, can be heard. You Are My Sunshine has been heard before, but then interestingly enough, a song like Home on the Range that you picked, which I really dig the arrangement on that too. It's a very interesting, was it daunting to go with a song that's such a folk classic, and maybe could present challenges in bringing into a jazz context, I imagine, but you did it so successfully.
I want to jump in before maybe John wants to answer that, but all of these tunes, you may have been familiar with them, but John took them apart and put them back together in such a creative way and beautiful way. It's just everyone will hear the tune and say, oh, wait a minute, I know that. They might not recognize it at first, but everyone loves how he creatively just put them back together. They're a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun doing this session and playing. There's a lot of humor, seriousness, just all the emotions, I think, in his arrangements on this record.
Thank you, Regina. It's always it is a daunting task, and it's somewhere between the opportunity and challenge, lies the fruit. And because you want to, especially with some songs, that are so associated with very particular things, and really meaningful things to people. So there's a reverence that you have to bring. toward the song. You can't completely destroy it. And yet there needs to be a fresh take. So I'm always trying to find that balance of keeping the little pieces that I feel are the real integrity of what the song is. Not just being able to recognize it, but the real integrity of what the song is. So that's still there, but then we can speak through it in a new, fresh way.
John, you're from there, John, or something. That's a home on the range is Kansas. Didn't you grow up in Kansas, or you're from out there, right?
Close, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, close enough. And we, there were 15 songs from Oklahoma we could have done too. But the other aspect of this too is that we've never played together as a band until we started recording together. Which so I'm kind of imagining, okay, well, I've heard Harvey play on 1,500 records. So I kind of have an idea, the character, how, and a lot of different styles. So I probably knew Harvey's thing a little bit better than everybody else, and then Regina, of course, I'm listening to every one of her records to just try and download how what she's doing with music through 1,500 other genres, and same thing with John Baptiste, and and also trying to come up with material too that I know that we could play without it can't be a science project. We need to be able to go in, read it down, and make music and not think too much, and really be able to play so we can actually enjoy playing together. So I'm trying to balance all those things, and and wrote all the music. We kind of came to our final concept, maybe like a couple weeks. I remember writing the music in about a week. So it was like let's go. Once it was there, it was there. So I'm navigating all those different pieces together, and then when you get into the studio, I don't know how you all feel, Harvey and Kabir and Regina, when you get into the studio, all bets are off. I'm imagining it this certain way, but I love that feeling of going into the studio and you pass the music out and it has nothing to do with me anymore. Then everybody puts their own take on it. And you may put a couple of North Stars, say, okay, we're going to go in this direction, but everybody go there in your own way. And I think we were all able to create that. And that's also under Regina's leadership, because she gave everybody the space to be themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing.
You're very wise, John. You're wise behind your years, because a lot of guys haven't figured that out yet. They have to come there and every note has to be exactly, which we all want to do anyway, but interpret the notes. But there's a certain amount of freedom that you have to give creative musicians. You put all the notes there, let them interpret the notes, let them make the music. And you let that happen. And that's very, very important. A lot of people don't really understand that.
It's a fine line, right?
Thin line, and the music's basically it's a blueprint. You have to play the music in order for everything to be together. But then again, it's what everyone brings to it, which really brings it alive. So that's great of you to have that thought. And I can't believe you wrote all that music in a week. Are you kidding me? A week?
Well, with these projects with Kabir, I've learned, I've got about 2 minutes to do it. So get on.
Wow. Well, I guess the pressure and there's nothing like a quick deadline for inspiration. I take it because it does. I didn't even know that until you just mentioned that. So that's even, wow. That's even more, impressive. So I understand. I just want to make mention that I'm sorry to everybody. I guess there was a issue, which hopefully won't happen when we go to share something again, but that the sound actually wasn't heard on when I shared what John Baptiste said. But he was mentioning that and what he said is that, I'm paraphrasing, but that there are 50 swing states, that there are 50 states, that they're all, they're all swing states. We all swing in all the states basically, and that they're all harmonious together. And I can share more of that after, but we'll get into some more discussion. But I also wanted to bring up the fact that today's a special day because it's also National Voter Registration Day. So I think it's very fitting that we are taking a look at this recording and project and discussing this with you, Regina, and John and Harvey and Kabir here on the day that is National Voter Registration Day. Because, you know, as you said, a big part of this was to encourage people to get out and vote. That's what is an important part of this message for sure. Now, I'm curious too if you know, as artists, Regina, you've done so many incredible projects over the years, including tribute to Ella. You've done it's the other project, Southern Comfort. I believe you had a beautiful project where you did a lot of research for that one too. And that was a beautiful project that we thankfully were able to present the record release of, I believe, at Jazz Standard, if my memory serves me correctly, in the pandemic. I wanted to, you know, just curious if you're concerned at this such a hyper political, highly charged time in our country, if you thought in any way the message or jumping into a project like this could have been misunderstood, if people weren't going to connect the dots the way you intended it, and just any reservations at all, or what did you think, or there were none? Curious.
No, I didn't have any reservations about it. I mean, you know, I don't think, maybe because I know the project, and I think the music is so wonderful and beautiful, and just all of us, the joy and the love that we shared in the studio, I think that comes through in the recording when people hear it. I you know, so many people love this record and express that. But I'm not voicing, none of us are voicing our personal political views on this record. This record is about getting people out to vote. Yeah. And there's nothing to be understood about that. We have to. And I just, you know, I know the 60s wasn't that far back when folks were marching and getting beaten, killed, hosed, dogs sicked on them. And so because of that, you know, I have to vote. Everyone, I think, has to vote because of that. When, you know, you start ignoring a right that someone fought for you to have, the next thing you know, you lose it. And you're only losing that right because you didn't bother to get up and go and do your duty, your civic duty, and vote. So that's what this record is about. And I didn't feel like anyone would take it any other way than for what it is.
Right. How about everyone else?
I was gonna say that's by kind of by I don't know if it's by design, but there's certainly an idea of create the music and put intention behind it, and the intention is go and vote, and then it's really up to the audience member to work out their perception of it, right? So I think the second you get into the politics, you kind of turn people off, or you start creating walls where you didn't really want there to be walls. And so one of the things we did on the record, and maybe Harvey can speak to this too, is we try to kind of identify people with certain geographies, and that's how the sequence of the album works. So you know, we all kind of, like the League of Justice, we all gathered in New York. We all came from different parts of the country to make this project happen. And we wanted to show the geographic diversity, even within jazz music. You know, we often think about New York, but all of us are I'm from Georgia, and, you know, Regina's from Michigan. And, you know, Harvey had told a story about his time in Kansas on the album, and Harvey's so well traveled. I'm just wondering, Harvey, how you thought about how the geography of this record, and what you thought about how we feature that through the music and through your personal story on the album, Harvey.
Well, yes, I have traveled quite a bit, and I was very happy to be able to give my little explanation of my time in Kansas. And I thought the record was really put together extremely well, and the places and the music chosen were just really excellent, and in arranging as well. And again, I didn't think politically at all, but swing states and our interpretation of the music that might have come from those areas, I think was clever. And that's how I interpreted it, and just tried to play the best you possibly can. And the record's turned out to be a very, very, very good record, and it's appreciated and liked by a lot of people. A lot of my friends have said, very clever, very clever. So that's my take on it. I think it was also brilliant to have us give a little a blurb about the places that we were playing the music, that the music came from. I think that was clever as well. So, it's a very, very cool project.
Agreed. I think the message you got across so successfully, and it's a message that is such a brilliantly unifying message in the way that you did it on this project. The music draws you in, the message, the introductions of each of the of some of the selections that shared. In fact, I think it's a good moment if to just try and share a little more, to let some people hear a little more a little taste of the music. Hopefully it will work here. And I just also want to encourage people, if they have questions, that they can share those questions in the chats whichever Facebook page you're viewing this on, and we'll try and get to those questions too before we run out of time. So without further ado, I think I'm going to jump into a little bit of Home on the Range here. And hang on one sec. To cut that off. It's so good. Sorry to even have to stop. I want to keep going to hear it, but
a tease.
Yeah.
Play it softly in the background.
But I gotta tell you, yeah, I mean, didn't hear, if you didn't see at first what song was playing, or I didn't announce it from the introduction, you wouldn't have realized what it was about to go into. So that's very hip how you guys did that, and John, your arrangement. But and it totally works. It freshens, or it refreshes that classic folk song. Which ironically, not that anyone cared about, was my very first public performance as a musician, as a kid, when I was scared to death, was in like grade school. I think it was second or third grade, for a piano recital that my piano teacher had all the students do at this place, and mine was Home on the Range. So ironically, I'm partial to that song. It brings back some memories.
Awesome.
But anyway, so I would like to also ask, maybe if you could speak to each of you, what, given the pandemic, given the time, what does success look like for this project now, Regina? What are you hoping to see happens as a result of putting out this record?
That folks that didn't vote before get out and vote. That's if this record
Right.
can encourage someone to do that, and for those people to make sure and reach out and make sure everyone else is registered and ready, then that would be a complete success.
Awesome. Yeah.
For me, it's already a success. I mean, the fact that I got to work with these amazing musicians, that
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, Kabir and anyone else who wants to jump in, but obviously when you planned this recording, it was prior to the pandemic. So and Regina and everyone, was there a tour book behind this where you were hoping to hit like all 50? I mean, how cool would it have been to like somehow try to hit the 50 states with this project? Like I could see that, and maybe hopefully it can happen in the future as well, but in a caravan or something,
Yeah, that was certainly one of the hopes of the project, to share as much as possible. But obviously, in time of pandemic, things have been canceled and postponed. So we're really grateful for opportunities like this to
Right.
and to share the music. And I think Regina's right. I think even if it just convinces one person, right? A lot of time and effort goes into these projects, but if it can connect with people who haven't voted before, it's so important. I think in many ways, Regina, Harvey, John they're playing, they're taking up the mantle of being sort of change agents, and they have these gifts of being incredible artists, and I think they're using their gifts for good. And jazz has a history of, being the anthem of social movements. And this summer
Yes.
we had the they're more than just movements. They're really, like, I think, transformational, what's going on, the Black Lives, BLM movement, and with the pandemic. And I think you turn on the news, as I mentioned kind of earlier, and it just feels like there's so much division. So hopefully if people can put this on for a few minutes and like have some faith in our country, that we're not all at each other's throats, that we actually can get along. That's my hope for the project, that people are reminded about as Lincoln said, our better angels, because we certainly have them, and we need to channel them as much as we can.
Absolutely. How have you each dealt with in your own way, as much of the general public who aren't musicians have, I think, come to understand and garner newfound appreciation for music and the arts at this time, because there's nothing can make you realize how fortunate you were in terms of what you had, be it music or something, until it's live music, until it's not there anymore. And I don't know if we've ever, maybe at the prior pandemic 100 years back in 1918 or something, but other than that, there really hasn't been, certainly not in my lifetime, there's never been a time where you couldn't get out and hear live music. And it's been interesting how everything's now come online. Case in point, us being able to do this program now and have people tune into it. But curious how each of you have been managing in your worlds as musicians right now, keeping busy, and how you're so used to being so busy on being on the road and recording projects that aren't happening in that way. So how are you managing with the time currently now, Regina?
Well, I've been able to do some concerts with my husband, drummer Alvesta Garnett, and
Great drummer.
and sometimes he and I just get together and play, which helps me keep my sanity. He's been able to do some outdoor gigs. I haven't had one. I have a gig coming up with my quartet, which I'm excited. If the main, I try to look at the positive of it, although it's difficult, but I try to stay in that positive space. But it made my husband and I closer, definitely made us start to artistically think of doing things that we wouldn't have thought of before. It's made some of my other friends and family closer, taking time, because, going for a walk, which, I couldn't even remember the last time I would go for a walk, or, teaching more now. And having the camp online was intense, the Geri Allen Jazz Camp, but I was so thankful that we were able to do that, the NJPAC, and we, allowed us to go forward with that. So just, taking the time to do the things that we wouldn't ordinarily have time to do, but also, it's interesting because with the pandemic, I feel like it was the universe's way of saying, sit down and just be still for a minute for everyone. We all had to sit down. And in being still and sitting down, there were some beautiful things and connections that we've made, but also it gave the world had a chance to see some of the ugliness that is there, that is us. And we have an opportunity now to turn that around, to do something about that. We're so, as Kabir was saying earlier, we're so divisive. It's, you don't look like me, you don't talk like me, you wear your hair like this, or you wear this, you believe in this, I believe. It's, we're human beings. We all have the same, we all need to eat, we all want to have fun, enjoy music, enjoy life. We all want the same basic things in life. And so I think the pandemic, for some people, I think they're seeing that, gave us a chance to just stop and take inventory.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're getting requests to share some more music. People are jonesing to hear some more of the record right now. So I'm just going to share some more music so they can get another taste of it right now, and put you on the spot. Maybe what is your? I'm going to ask each of you separately, but play. What's your favorite track, Regina? Is it Dancing in the Streets? Because
Yes.
for obvious reasons from Detroit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, just
about?
because not obvious,
Okay.
it's a great tune, but just John's arrangement. All of his arrangements are incredible, but just with that one, it's special for me.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear a little of Dancing in the Street now. And a very different take on it as well, as you will hear. So here we go. sorry that stop any of these tunes, but I know I'm not supposed to play all the entire song in terms of rights and all that. So yeah, that is really something, that there's a magic there on this recording, but on that song too, there's I don't think it's just the muted trumpet or something, but it definitely has that it's like that Miles mystery and vibe to it, and in a good sense, not just because of and again, I want to be clear, not just because of the trumpet there, but there's it's just so organic the way you guys deal with the song and the arrangement, but there's just such a vibe. I think Regina mentioned that too on the song. Did you all felt that vibe in the studio when you were doing this project? I know you weren't a touring band prior to this project, but it sounds like you guys were having a ball in the studio.
A lot of intense listening. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Together that much, you have to listen. Everyone was listening to everyone else, and the vibe was great.
Yeah.
Trust.
I would say it was a great studio session, and there was a lot of laughing involved, a lot of humor. I think John Batiste brought a lot of levity into the session. I want to acknowledge him, and I think that warmth. I think as soon as I met Harvey, there was a lot of warmth. Harvey has a big smile to him, and he's anytime we looked, he was cordoned off. This is pre-pandemic. He was in that big plexiglass case for the drums, but it was great to work with Harvey on this. And you asked about the humor. There was, I think, at the end of Wisconsin, there's a whole laugh track that we included on there. I don't know if you heard that, Harvey, and it was you and I think John laughing with each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Everyone take a second to talk about the levity in the session. It just seemed like there was this laughter going on throughout the entire field.
Yeah. Some of that was captured on you kept on the actual record itself. You hear some of the laughter going on in some of the track. We have about 5-6 minutes left in the program, unless we go slightly over. But there's another topic that I think is worth discussing, which is how much jazz and as jazz musicians and a working jazz band performing on the bandstand, how jazz so well demonstrates what real democracy is in performance, and the supportive role, everyone having to play a supportive role, including the band leader at times. And so would love to touch upon that, because that's obviously something that I think everyone, including our certainly our Congress, could learn from how a jazz band operates, and how it is such a democratic forum and democracy in action in the music to make it work well, certainly. What do you have to say about that, John?
Yeah. My thoughts went to what Harvey was saying about everyone listening to each other on these sessions. I think as musicians, there's a ingrained, inherent level of openness to the other point of view. There's this, it's open-hearted and open-mindedness. And with that comes a certain trust that even if we may hear things going in different directions, we're only there to make each other sound as best as we possibly can individually, but even more importantly, as a collective in the sound of the group. And there's a certain analogy in there, I think, as human beings. I know. I mean, I take that philosophy as a way of being when I'm in a conference meeting. I'm there to lift and affect the room in a positive way. Or, when there's a basketball game going on, like those people on the floor, the point guard is there to put that ball exactly where that shooter is. They love to get that ball right there. And so it's my role to get that ball over there, and it's my role to deliver the music where it's going to be delivered. There's just a certain trust of the individual and respect of
Yes.
one another, I think, that we have to bring in to every aspect of our lives. It's love. It's love. I mean, at the foundation of it all, it's respect and love.
Yeah.
And that's hard to bring, to Senate.
Yeah.
No,
Harvey I'm sorry. Yeah. Beautifully said.
Love for the music. And there's a certain, and from my perspective, there's a certain selflessness that I feel that I have to donate, because it's not about me particularly. It's about the music, and what do I have to do in order to make the music blossom, make it happen for everyone else. And I mean, drummers really have to think that way first, more than most other people, even though
Right.
sometimes I find myself conflicted, because when I play live, you have to expound more. They expect more, especially when I'm the leader. They're expecting more. But then when I go back in the studios, that's not going to work on a record. A record, I'm playing and I'm embellishing, I'm supporting, I'm giving the dynamics, and those are the things that I have to do in order to make a record successful. So that's something that I think is very, very important. And it comes from love of music, love and respect of people. And also, you must listen. And you can hear, I can actually, when I'm in the studio, I can hear other people listening. You can tell by what they play that they're listening. I can play one little thing here and I can tell the reaction. So it's really an amazing process of playing in the studios and playing live. But I say in the studios because that's where you really can hear what's happening. When you have those headphones on and the music's happening. It's, to me, that's unbelievable. I love it. That's what I wanted to do. When I heard about recording musicians, I geared my life towards going there. And the greatest joy for me is recording, and I spent so many years recording every single day. Every day, pretty much, and I kind of miss it now. But it's not the same. Everything's changed, but that to me is it's the height of musicianship, and if the musician there could play anything. Like your dad was great jazz player, but he played everything. So I mean I'm in a soapbox about this, but I love all kinds of music and what it took for me in order to be successful and to push the music and make the music successful.
Yeah. What shows, because you did all just the list of artists you work with and what you contributed to each of them. And I have to say sorry, because someone that I didn't mention on that list, who's a hero of mine too, is George Benson, that you played with on some seminal George Benson records too. So, but I think the other interesting thing why jazz is democracy in action too is how you as musicians or artists, you all love people as musicians bringing their different viewpoints into the mix, and you feed and play off of those different viewpoints musically speak. I'm referring musically different viewpoints. Like you guys aren't going to necessarily play the song, if you're doing two shows in a night somewhere at a venue and you're going to play for a different audience for the second show, you're not necessarily going to play that song if you play some of the same music you play in the first set. It's still going to be different, and someone might takes the music in another direction, whether it's a bass player or drummer or pianist, whoever on Soulside could get a new idea and bring that into the fold, and new ideas can be championed. You've done that so successfully, of course, as a leader, Regina, all these years, right? You allow new ideas to flourish that other people bring to the fold.
That's what it's about. If you stop that, then it's not, for me, it's not art anymore once you stop that process from happening. And I wanted to add on to what everyone was saying about the democracy of working in a band, and especially playing jazz or improvised music, because it's a conversation, and the thing is you might have people on the bandstand that don't particularly care for each other, but they respect the music, and so therefore they respect each other while they're there, and they still listen. And that's the thing. You don't have to like someone, but you need to respect them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing. The stage is very sacred, and the music is sacred. And when we come on stage, everything gets left behind, and it's about the music. It's about the art.
Yeah. Speaking of music and the art, we're running out of time, but we're getting some other requests. People are discussing Georgia on My Mind, and they want to hear a little bit about that. They want to hear a taste of that. And I also wanted to share, we don't have time to do both, so I'll put you on the spot, Regina, and ask you whether to play a little Georgia on My Mind or You Are My Sunshine, because we don't have time
Well,
for both.
I think the folks are asking for Georgia, so let's give the
Good.
folks what they want.
Spoken like a true artist. Thank you.
Look at Kabir.
I'm in Atlanta right now, so we have to.
Yeah, I didn't mention, I saw that in your it was on your resume too, that it was not lost on me that it said you're Atlanta Braves fan.
Yes, Georgia on my mind.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to that. Wow. That's so.
I love that song.
That's so killing. That's killing.
Yeah, that's how it started. Seth, I just wanted to say one
Yeah.
thing on your last question.
Please do.
I couldn't not take this opportunity. And Stanley Crouch just passed away, and
Yeah.
he was sort of a fervent writer on the connection between jazz and democracy. And I just want to kind of acknowledge his contributions. And something he always made the point was that sort of art reflects society, but also art sort of leads society in a way. It's kind of like a forerunner. And I think I don't know if we succeeded in that, but it's certainly something we had in mind that, jazz, I often say jazz is one of the first parts of American society that was integrated. It was the jazz band. It was people of different races coming together.
Right.
So I think this record is a reflection of what we want America to be or hope to be, right? So in that we're reflecting society, but we want it to kind of be like this in a way. So that's what the hopeful message is. And Georgia, I certainly want it to be like that.
Yeah.
How it sounded, I want it to be like that here.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a party. People as well. Like the message is serious. The message is very serious, obviously, but you're having serious fun delivering that message. Is what comes across here, and that's what in part how why I think this works so well, and that you have achieved what you set out for. And I encourage everybody, given that today again is National Voter Registration Day, everybody encourage everyone you know to make sure that they do get out and vote, and register rather, but of course then ultimately get out and vote. I know there's voting has already begun in some places. So but yeah, be sure to register. That's critical, and that's important to all of us, and it's important to our democracy, and that's how our democracy will continue to flourish. If for it to work, people have to exercise their right to vote. I don't want to end without also asking Regina to talk about Fago. What a Fago is,
pop.
and are they still around? Like, tell me about Fago pop.
Fago pop, yeah. I think because Kabir, didn't your parents or someone give you some Fago pop recently?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a pop I grew up drinking in Detroit, and there was a whole song, a long commercial, great song about it. And they had red pop, great pop, all kinds of, I didn't know, what was it, a jazz and blues pop, but my favorite growing up was chocolate pop. And yeah, it's just a Michigan thing.
Yeah, cool. So I also don't want to be remiss in telling people we did share obviously some of the music. I know that people would like to hear more music, and they can hear the entire album, but they can find it everywhere that that music can be streamed, as well as they can purchase the physical CD as well. Are there plans to release this on vinyl? Is it on vinyl? I don't actually know the answer to that.
One day, I
One
think.
day. Okay, it's not currently on vinyl. No, I just want to
No.
make sure to mention what depending on what format people want. But
States,
yeah,
we play in every 50 states on the tour.
yeah, man. I think that's definitely has to be in the cards in the future for this project. It's
Sorry.
such a. Go ahead.
I just saw one thing here is to mention that for folks in New Jersey, the deadline to register to vote is October 13th. And in New York is October 9th.
Thank you, Regina. That's awesome.
Brought to you by Fago.
Thank you, my Fago. Yeah, now I want to get some Fago. I've been to the Detroit Jazz Festival. Detroit's a great city, and yeah, it's unfortunate that I guess that festival happened virtual this year. Anyway, I want to thank you, Regina. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, Kabir. Thank you, John, for being a part of this show and agreeing to come on and discuss this incredible work of yours, Regina. And I wish it much more success going forward as well, continued success. And I'm rooting for the mission behind this for sure. I know we all are. I think everybody watching certainly is as well. I definitely want to thank also NJPAC and Jazz Standard for co-presenting the series, along with the TD Bank for also sponsoring the jazz series here at NJPAC. And we do have some more great programs that are happening at NJPAC. They have an incredible In Your Living Room series that you can find on their website. So be sure to check that out on their website. Be sure to go and check out all the work that all these artists are doing here. Harvey Mason has amazing, countless recordings out that he plays on, as well as his own great records as a leader. John has a new project that we didn't get to rap about, but there's a quintet that recently came out. That's an amazing project. Regina, obviously the project we're talking about. So be sure to check that out, and you can listen to it in its entirety, I promise. After the show, go find it everywhere that music is streamed. So thank you so much. And we'll keep you posted on by visiting NJPAC and elsewhere for the upcoming series programs. In October, we have one on Charlie Parker. We're doing one in November with Maria Schneider, and there's many more coming. So in addition to everything else that NJPAC is doing, that is incredible, especially in this during this trying time, that they really are making things happen. So do support them as well. They're not for profit, so they're happy to receive your contributions if you're able to at this time. So thank you again, everybody, and have a great night.
Thanks, Seth.
See you guys next time. Hope to see you and hear you soon in person. All right.
Thank you, Harvey, Kabir, John. Thanks, everyone.
Hope to see all of you soon.
Thank you.
Same here. Hope to play some music soon.
Good night.
Take care of the baby, Kabir.